Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it. Give this video a like.
Yep. Check out the podcast below in the description as well. Do it now. Yep. Subscribe.
Thursday Night Football, John. Justin Herbert. I was trying to think. I haven't done an official count, but it feels like this is his first primetime start as the Chargers quarterback.
Yeah, I think he got Romo and Nance one time. I heard Romo say that on a podcast, and that, remember, was his first start, which was week 2 when Tyrod got his lung punctured. But other than that, the Chargers have not. I mean, they play in a ton of 10 a.m. kickoffs, it feels like, and they get buried at 1 o'clock in just the game that is not nationally televised. And rightfully so, right? They are terrible.
Yeah.
Like, their record's terrible. Though, I actually think they're a watchable team. Like, you could throw them on Monday Night Football, and I think people would enjoy them. Right? They would pop, but their record doesn't pop. Like, to me, the Falcons are a good example. Like, I don't want to see them. Like, don't put them on Monday Night Football. But you can give me the Chargers at 4-9. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, this game on paper, to me, Carr versus Herbert, I'm in.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. I'm with you. And really, with the exception of the game they played a couple weeks ago against the Patriots, they have, if you just, every game, you and I have talked and watched every one of their games. Yes.
Can I give you a stat?
Please.
Because I just pulled up the ESPN page of I clicked on Raiders-Chargers on the schedule, and so it comes up the comparison of passing, rushing, and receiving yards. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that comes up is Herbert and Derek. They're just numbers right next to each other. Justin Herbert has completed 31 more balls than Derek. Because we've been talking, like, is Derek going to go to the Pro Bowl? We were talking about that like 3 or 4 weeks ago, right? Obviously, Mahomes is going.
Yeah.
You could argue Ben. You could argue, Deshaun Watson's numbers are probably going to look pretty good. But
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, to me, is going. So it's Mahomes, Josh Allen, and who's going to be the third guy? When the Raiders were winning, it was like Derek's going to go. You could make the argument Justin Herbert's a Pro Bowler guy. He's thrown more touchdowns than Derek. He's got 25. A couple more picks, but completion percentage is good. He could end up easily with 33, 34 touchdowns, and he didn't even start the first game.
Wow.
And the Chargers, here's the other thing. Their record's not good. Their offense is a top 10 offense. Like, their offense is really good.
By the way, Phillip Rivers, you wouldn't think of it, but he's got more yards than Herbert. He's got 20 touchdowns, 9 picks.
It does feel like Herbert's more Pro Bowl. When I think Pro Bowl, like, Herbert's better. Is it crazy to think that it's Mahomes, Allen, I think, are locks? The third guy is up for debate. I can see Roethlisberger not even wanting to go. Again, it's not even going to happen, but just whoever is considered. Is Herbert is Herbert the guy?
Deshaun.
You have his numbers in front of you?
Yeah, I do. He's second in the league in yards.
Okay. How many touchdowns?
He's 69% completion percentage. He's 25 touchdowns, 6 picks.
And how many rushing touchdowns do you have? Probably 3 or 4. It's probably him.
Yeah.
But this is what I think part of this conversation is the Chargers right now are going, we got a quarter. For example, their division. If Mahomes is just in a different category, who else in the division, if you and I run the Chargers, do I view Derek as better than Herbert? Like, I wouldn't trade Justin Herbert for Derek Carr. I
don't think you would trade Justin Herbert for most quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
No. So they got to feel pretty good where they're going. And I think this is a big night for Thursday night. Just does like 15 million people watch. And like you said, I think a lot of people talk about him, and we play DraftKings, and a lot of people are cognizant of his fantasy numbers. And if you gambled, you just follow the scores. I don't think people and the highlights, but just watching him play a game, I'd be shocked how many like big NFL fans that consume a lot of football really have seen a ton of Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
right?
they saw him play Auburn last year in college, week 1, right?
See him come on the red zone. Did you see McVay? Like, Schrager tweeted that he talked to Sean and Veronica, his wife. It's a good follow on Instagram. I get fiance. He was sitting there at like 10 a.m. watching the red zone. She's like, "What do you want to do today?" He's like, "I want to watch this." She's like, "All day?" He's like, "Yes."
Of course he does. Like, you get 1 week like that. Like, you got to do it. That's a fantastic story. How about this ESPN stats and info stat? Justin Herbert leads the league in touchdowns on 3rd down. He has 13. Tom Brady has 11. Ironically, since 2018.
Is this a good guy? How is Justin Herbert? Are they kind of licking their lips for this matchup? I mean,
absolutely they are.
Yeah. The Keenan Allen guy has 99 catches for almost 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns. You know, I love Devontae Adams. He's a Fresno State guy. You could make an argument right now the two best receivers in the league, just most consistently most dominant, are Devontae and Keenan. Keenan's on pace for what? 125 catches? Like what? Who's covering Keenan Allen on this team? Like for the Raiders, like Howard.
Nobody.
Herbert
Nobody
and Keenan
covers him
Allen
on
are going to. Yes, no one covers him. I mean, he dominates.
Yeah. No, this has to be a shootout. Unless Marinelli's got something for these guys on a short week. But
what do you do? Change your whole defense on a fucking 2-day work week?
3-3-5. You bring in Rocky Long.
Well, the line right now is 3.5.
Raiders favored.
Yeah, that extra point. I don't know. Chargers makes it a little interesting. Now, I guess what could they really do on defense? It'd be one thing if you had the full week. Thursday's pretty short, right? I just don't know that much that you can do differently. Plus, at the end of the day, like your players are your players. So you're running zone or man, like your corner out there is still your corner. And I got Keenan Allen and I got Hunter Henry. That's what I'm saying. I think this is a tough matchup for the Raiders. Bosa's kicking ass and taking names. We've been saying all year long, I think Atlanta is the NFC version of the record does not match up with just the talent, the ability when the team is on. And I would say this team has a higher ceiling just because Herbert is just a much more explosive player 2020 than Matty Ice is, right?
Yeah, and he is a threat to run, right? By the way, you were right. Deshaun has 3 rushing touchdowns, but Herbert's a threat to run. I mean, he has 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, so I give him his due.
He is, if you said, okay, defensive coordinators, rank the guys that stress you out over the course of a prep week, he'd be ahead of Tua. He'd be ahead of Baker, right? He'd be ahead of a lot of guys just given his physicality, given his arm strength. He throws the ball down the field a ton, and they're really successful at it. He's got really good playmakers
I think
him.
if you talk to every defensive back coach or secondary coach that they've played this year, it's like, God, he makes me nervous. I got to tell my guys to like play cautious, right? Because I can't let people get behind us because they'll throw bombs. He throws bombs.
And he throws bombs on the move. He throws bombs from out of the pocket. He throws bombs from everywhere.
But the other thing is like they have the best intermediate receiver arguably in the game. So it's like, well, you just play off. Well, then Keenan Allen's eating you alive in the zone, right? He's just sitting there and he's like slippery because he's like tall and long, and then he's just working through the middle. Keenan's one of the more bizarre players. It's somewhat of a whiff by me. I remember going in, giving him a late first-round grade. A lot of people didn't like him because he was slow.
He had a knee injury too, didn't he, in college?
Knee injury, yeah. He didn't run a 40, and I kind of group-thinked it, and I moved it back to a third round. He ended up going in the third round, but like if you were around that Cal team, they were terrible. He was a superstar. Like it was like, God, this guy dominates.
His quarterback was not good.
His quarterback was his stepbrother,
Zach Maynard,
who's got to be one of the worst. If we looked at the Pac-12 starting quarterbacks over the last couple decades, might be, honest to God, might be the worst. Who started multiple years, right? He was terrible.
He was not good.
And Guy, they didn't just have Keenan Allen. They had C.J. Anderson, they had offensive weapons, right? They had a couple other wide receivers that played in the league for a little bit. Marvin Jones might have been a little bit before that. Might have been his time too. They had offensive weapons.
What year did
he came out in 13? So like 11 and 12. Keenan Allen played.
Okay, Marvin Jones was 08 to 11.
Yeah, so he would have played on the team in 11. So they had C.J. Anderson, Keenan Allen in 11. Remember the Fresno State team played him with Derek
at I was there.
Candlestick.
At Candlestick Park.
That was actually 2010, I think.
I'm going back through Cal's game log, but we can do this for another day. Anyway, Herbert, man, I'm excited for him, and I think it's going to be it's the kind of game that maybe the Raiders can look really good in this game on offense. And it's
if they lose and the defense gives up a lot, does Gruden fire Marinelli?
Well, part of this is like the Chargers are flawed. They lose a bunch of games. Can you lose to Anthony Lynn?
That'd be a rough loss. That'd be a rough loss. You saw what happened at the end of the first half, right? Remember you told me about it.
the Chargers trying to kick a field goal, or they didn't quite know what to do, was a disaster.
They ran the ball. They ran it. They didn't have a timeout, and then Anthony Lynn's like, "We can't run the
they've
ball."
been
It's like,
awful with
"Anthony,
clock
you're the
management
coach."
all year.
Oh my! They've had that situation happen 3 or 4 times this season.
Yeah.
That same situation of like, what do I do? What do I do?
And yet Herbert in that environment has been really fantastic. So
You notice whenever you run off the field and you're a little late, even if you are like a borderline Hall of Famer, it happened on Monday night with Calais Campbell, where he was in no man's land. Again, he's like NFL. He's literally NFL Man of the Year. He's been to like 8 Pro Bowls. He came off. The D-line coach was mad, and he's like kind of giving his side of the story, like, bro, this, and he was trying not to get yelled at. Like, it shows you that they're very strict about who's on the field when. Like, you have to listen.
They did have a point. They had 15 players on the field one time the other night on Monday Night Football. There was 15 players on the field.
The Ravens.
Yeah, I don't think that's just Calais' fault.
No, I know. Well, that's why he was giving his side of the story.